daily motorcycle-related charity events each
I'm
year,
live.
and as a nonprofit organization, donate to various
Perfect.
veteran care
We're live.
facilities and veteran
Awesome.
charities. To learn more about the Combat Veteran Motorcycle Association and how you can join or support, please visit cvma2-2.org.
All right, so we're going to play 305.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host and do not express the views of WVDF ownership or Hometown Talk Radio.
We're not playing
Content aired
189.
on all
So,
programs are those of the host and their guests.
okay, 10.
It's
All
time
right.
for Hometown Talk on AM 1530 and 99.7
We'll
FM.
start with.
Hometown radio station. Our phone lines are now open at
See, I'm gonna start with sports today.
508-822-1106.
Alright, those all look good. Yes, perfect, awesome. It's good, perfect. There we go, good. That's good. Perfect, good, awesome. Good. Alright. Air, yep. Alright. Oh, what up? And good morning, everybody. It is 9:14 a.m. I'm Joey Driscoll, and this is Hometown Talk. It's the Friday edition of Hometown Talk. It is the first Friday of the year of 2026. Good morning, everybody. Open phone lines today, 508-822-1106. On today's show, we're going to do a little bit of a year in review for certain things, like transportation, year in review for different events as well. Kind of a look ahead into 2026, what's going to be going on with 2026 as well. And we might even look at, if we have time, we might even look at some of the important elections in 2026, internationally, maybe locally as well. I know Middleborough has nomination papers that are going to be going out and are going to be available for the April election. I believe today. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on when we go to that segment talking about elections. So we'll do that later on in the program today. But your phone calls as well. 508-822-1106 is the number to call. We'll do our sports segment. We'll do some transportation. We'll maybe do a music segment as well. We got a lot to get to in the show today. So let's get underway here. And we'll start with our sports. There is some. We're gonna, sprinkle some sports throughout the show today. One thing I want to start off with is the leadoff sports story for this morning, which was that the Kraft Group announced on Wednesday that it struck an agreement with Everett Boston to bring the New England Revolution to their communities along the Mystic River. That's going to be pretty big. That's going to be pretty big. Just been talking about that for months now. There's been concerns with people in those communities, and then New England Revolution fans as well have voiced their concerns and voiced their displeasure at the possibility of the Revolution moving, but it is now official that they will be moving over the next couple of years. Probably by the beginning of the 2030s, they will be moving to that area in Everett and Boston along the Mystic River there. That they've been talking about. I believe they've been talking about this site for months and even years at this point. So that is now confirmed. Some of the things to kind of talk about when it comes to this deal is, according to Boston Mayor Michelle Wu, the community benefits package totals $48 million over the next 15 years between the city and Kraft Group. Under the terms of the agreements, the Kraft Group, they'll handle everything from the environmental cleanup of the site, investing in the traffic and transportation improvements, fund all public safety and transportation management costs for stadium events, according to Kraft Group spokesperson. Copy of the agreement not immediately available. Additionally, Wu's office also said that the Kraft Group will have to hire locally and make substantial infrastructure improvements in Sullivan Square in Charlestown prior to the stadium's opening, which will be good if that does come to pass. There are a lot of areas that in that area that need improvement, especially in the transportation area and things like that. If this if all that comes to pass, it could be very beneficial when it comes to that area, transportation especially. It could be beneficial if that does come to pass. Also, the Kraft Group will make an initial payment of $3 million over the next 6 years to the city, which will be directed to the Charlestown Community Impact Fund, which again be positive if that does come to pass, and that is a very good thing for Charlestown. Similarly, $1 per every soccer ticket sold and 1.5% of every concert ticket sold will be paid to the city of Boston in perpetuity, according to Wu's office. What are your thoughts on that? That's interesting. These agreements, this is a quote here. These agreements reflect years of collaboration with city leaders and community stakeholders to ensure the project delivers meaningful, lasting benefits for residents while addressing transportation, environmental, and municipal impacts. That's a statement there from the Kraft Group. At its core, it is an investment in effort and its future. So that's where the proposed stadium is going to be. And that stadium, as I mentioned on the top here, has been a long source of contention among city officials in both Everett and Boston, as well as residents, and again, New England Revolution fans as well. A lot of people have differing opinions on them moving out of Foxborough, especially with the travel now that a lot of fans are going to have to make from Foxborough to now Everett. And a lot of people have pretty much voiced their opinion that they're not going to do it. That they're not going to travel. Some people have voiced their opinion that they're not going to travel all the way to Everett. And that's understandable. The New England Revolution, their games seemed like they were doing very, very well attendance-wise in Foxborough. So it's an interesting move that they're going to be going to Everett, but we'll see what happens there over the next couple of years. And we'll see what happens with the other team too, New England Revolution 2, the MLS Next Pro League as well. Sounds like they're going to be staying where they are, which is in Hooksett, New Hampshire. There's no news about them moving or anything like that. If I do hear something about them moving, I'll definitely be talking about it. They played some of their games as well at Gillette last season, over the last couple of seasons, I think. They played their games at Gillette. Does that change? Who knows? I haven't heard anything about that. But as of right now, it's just the main team, the New England Revolution, moving. I have not heard anything about New England Revolution number 2 from the MLS Next Pro moving either at this point. But What are your thoughts on this? 508-822-1106 is the number. In addition to the Revolution, the Kraft Group said the stadium will support Everett Public Schools and make both the stadium and waterfront park available to community events, which should be very good as well for the city of Everett. And finally, the permitting process, that'll take 12 to 18 months, and then it will take another 3 years to tear down the power plant and build the stadium. So it's going to take a little bit. So power plant is where the stadium is going to go, the old power plant there. So they're going to be tearing down the power plant and creating the stadium, which will take some time. Again, 3 years or so. So probably by, it'll be right at the beginning of the 2030s is when the New England Revolution will start playing in Everett. But pretty much it for that. 508-822-1106 is the number if you want to call in, talk about that, what your thoughts are on that. Is it a positive thing for Everett and Boston, or is this going to be a negative thing for the New England Revolution? Give me your thoughts. All right, 9:25. Let's take our first commercial break right now. When we come back, talk about a couple of different things going on. Give a couple updates on some things, and give updates to some events going on this week. And then after our 9:30 break, we'll switch gears to some transportation, talk about a little bit of a 2025 in review for transportation in our area. And maybe we'll later on as well do a little bit of transportation nationally, a little bit of a year review in that, because this year was a pretty big year for Amtrak, a positive year for Amtrak actually, and a pretty good year for MBTA, all things considered as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later on. But let's take our first commercial break right now, and we'll be right back. All right. All right, good. Fresh news. 9:25. Okay. What am I doing here? Okay, I'm gonna do 164.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Come right back.
I let go of trying to control things that I had no control over. And that helped me find peace of mind.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
I was constantly stressed and worried. Now I approach each day with joy and gratitude.
In Al-Anon, families and friends of alcoholics find new ways to heal from the effects of a loved one's drinking.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and the Al team can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. For information, call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
Free. Coming back. We're coming back. Come on, 9:27. All right, we're back. I turned down the bumper music. There we go. 9:27 a.m. I got a couple minutes here before the 9:30 news break. Give a little bit of an update on some local things here. The Taunton Public Library. They will be closed today. They closed today. They reopen tomorrow at 9 a.m. They're open till 4 tomorrow. But the Taunton Public Library is closed today. So there you go. That's your holiday hours there for the Taunton Public Library. Also, for the state police, there will be a sobriety checkpoint Colonel Jeffrey D. Noble, superintendent of the Massachusetts State Police, announced that a sobriety checkpoint will be implemented by the Massachusetts State Police on a public way The purpose is to further educate the motoring public and strengthen the public's awareness to the need of detecting and removing those motorists who operate under the influence of alcohol and or drugs from our roadways. It'll be operated during various hours. The selection of vehicles will not be arbitrary. Safety will be assured, and any inconveniences to motorists will be minimized with advance notice to reduce fear and anxiety. And this is thanks to a grant provided by the Office of Grants and Research of the Massachusetts Executive Office of Public Safety and Security. And again, Bristol County. It'll be in Bristol County. It will be today into tomorrow. Again, that's today into tomorrow for the sobriety checkpoint. There we go. And finally, here we got one more here that we can do here before the 9:30 news break, and that is the Raynham Lions County Breakfast, Country Breakfast is going to be the first Saturday of each month, which is tomorrow. All money raised will go to the Raynham Lions Building and Maintenance Fund. There'll be sausage available, eggs, pancakes, juice, coffee or tea, and bacon also available as well. Breakfast is served between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m., all for the cost of $10. Children 10 and under are free. Pay at the door. If you want more information, you can call the Raynham Lions Hall, 508-823-7911. Again, that's 508-823-7911. There you go. It is 9:30 a.m. When we come back, we're going to switch gears a little bit to some transportation. Go over some year in review stuff for the MBTA. And also, again, we'll look at a year in review for 2025 and look into ahead to 2026 as well. Some of the big events happening in 2026, we'll talk about it as well. And your phone calls, 508-822-1106 is the number. It is 9:30 a.m. Let's take our news break. We'll be right back.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm
That was kind of quick.
Barring a sudden turnaround, and that's always possible with Wall Street, it looks like the stock market will be starting the year with gains. Futures are positive so far this morning.
After taking off the New Year's holiday, U.S. financial markets are open for business in the new year. In 2025, the three major U.S. stock indexes posted double-digit annual gains. For the year, the S&P 500 rose more than 16%. The Nasdaq was up by 20%, and the Dow climbed nearly 13%. It was a roller coaster ride, however, with Wall Street bouncing back from April's low after President Trump's tariffs sparked a meltdown in global markets. Greg Clugston, Washington.
The raging fire that swept through a packed Swiss nightclub early New Year's Day claimed around 40 lives, left more than 100 people hurting.
Officials say that most of the injuries are severe. Witnesses spoke of seeing survivors with terrible burns, having been trapped in the basement party space of the Constellation Bar. That's where the blaze is suspected to have begun. Some suffered smoke.
All right, so far so good.
From the terrible choking
with the
BBC's John
connection
Lester.
here. Oh, my hair.
The Trump Kennedy Center
that.
is
There we
no
go.
longer in the red. Rick Brunel, the center's
Okay,
president
good.
and executive director.
When I arrived at the Kennedy Center, we were paying staff with debt reserves. We had no money in the bank. Shows were so woke that people weren't responding. And so now that you have new management and we're cleaning up the place and we're getting more corporate donors and other donors than we've ever had.
He tells the Salem Radio Network the cultural mecca in Washington, D.C. has raised $130 million in a span of just 10 months. On Wall Street, Dow futures up 146 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Okay.
What if 2026 could be the best year ever for your retirement?
That was
It
open
can,
now.
when you
The stock
take
market's
control of
open
your
now.
financial future with
I'll give it a
physical
look.
precious metals.
Probably give
Call
it a
Advantage
look.
Gold at
Stock
800-741-GOLD
market.
right now
Business
and get
report.
your free gold
Small
rollover kit
business
valued
report.
at $49. Yours just for calling. More Americans than ever are discovering the power of rolling over a portion of their IRA or 401k into physical gold and silver. With a simple, tax and penalty-free rollover, you can add stability, security, and strength to your retirement. In times of inflation, uncertainty, or market swings, gold has been a steady, tangible, proven store of value. And in 2026, it could be the key to building the retirement you've always imagined. That's why so many people trust Advantage Gold, the #1 rated gold IRA company in America for 10 years running. Call 800-741-GOLD to get your free gold rollover kit. Call 800-741-GOLD and let 2026 be the year you finally take control. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-741-GOLD.
A senior Iranian leader acknowledges his country's in crisis amid protests. He blames Israel and the U.S.
Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian's speech took place in the central city of Shahrakot. Pezeshkian says, "We're engaged in a full-scale war. Right now, the enemy has placed most of its hopes on weakening us through economic pressure." Adding, "You cannot conquer a nation with bombs, fighter jets, or missiles. To defeat us, they would have to come and face us on the ground. And if they were to do this, it would be impossible for them to bring Iran to its knees." His comments come 2 days after President Donald Trump suggested the US could carry out military strikes if Iran attempts to reconstitute its nuclear program. Iran on Wednesday also appointed a new central bank governor following a record currency fall against the US dollar, which had sparked large protests through the country. I'm Charles Ledesma.
News and analysis at townhall.com. In college football, Indiana adds to its sports legacy with a Rose Bowl win.
The school, better known for its basketball, has now emerged as a force in Big Ten football, traditionally dominated by rivals like Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. The team was eliminated last year in the first round of the college football playoffs after a turnaround season. Yesterday, they notched a rout of the Crimson Tide, defeating Alabama with a convincing 38-3 victory.
It wasn't even close.
Closer
Yeah.
toward a national championship bid. They'll play Oregon in one of next week's semifinal games. And the other two Cinderella stories, Miami upset the defending national champion Ohio State Buckeyes to earn their berth. And last night, Ole Miss upset Georgia to set up a matchup against the Hurricanes. George Williams reporting.
Farmers are now learning how much aid they can expect to receive from a $12 billion package that President Trump recently announced. The Agriculture Department is out with the figures on how much aid per acre farmers can plan on receiving. More on these stories at townhall.com.
All right. We're back here. All right. Okay.
And we're back. I turned down the bumper music. There we go. 9:36 a.m. Quick update on the stock market. As you heard there during the town hall news, pretty positive when it comes to what the stock market did last year in 2025. S&P 500, for example, 16% gain for 2025. And it looks like stock market's off to an all right start here in 2026, here on the first day of trading for the new year. The Dow Jones is the only one that's in the red right now by 71 points. NASDAQ is up 250 points, and S&P 500 is up 32. So there you go. Wanted to do a little bit of a quick little stock market update for people, just to let everyone know how the stock market is doing here. 8 minutes or so into trading for 2026. But there you go. Our weather, real quick. Want to update that as well. Sunny conditions right now. It looks like that will continue throughout the day today. Earlier on, most of the morning, I was saying, and I was going to say mostly cloudy, but a little bit later on towards the end of our news, our morning wake up news, the weather changed up a little bit. It is going to be clear throughout the day today. Wind gusts, however, up to 18 miles per hour. And that's making it feel like temperatures only sitting at 13 right now. It is 23 degrees, high of 29 today with a low of 15 tonight. So it'll be cold tonight. It'll be cold tomorrow and Sunday as well. 30 for the high on both Saturday and Sunday. But no rain or snow or anything like that. Mostly cloudy skies on Saturday and Sunday. Lows of 18 and 19 as well. A low of just 11 on Monday. So it's going to be really cold. We're kind of settling into some cold weather over the next couple of days. It'll finally warm up on Wednesday. We're looking at a couple of chances of a mix, a wintry mix potentially over the next couple of days after Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're looking at a couple of chances of a wintry mix as well. So we'll keep an eye on that throughout the upcoming week. But looks like the weekend is going to be pretty nice, except it's going to be definitely cold. Definitely cold out there. Doesn't look like the snow will be, going away too quickly here. Unfortunately, for people who are looking for that to happen, but it looks like the snow will stick around a little bit. But there's your weather update right now. Maybe we'll give another weather update before the end of the show today. Open phone lines today, 508-822-1106 is the number to call. If you want to call in, talk about what was on your mind this morning. But let's switch over to some transportation. We're going to focus on MBTA in this segment. Then a little bit later on, we'll do some talk about Amtrak as well for 2025, because 2025 for Amtrak was a pretty big year, for sure. And MBTA, I would say, it was a good year at times, for sure, for the MBTA. 2025 was a big year for the MBTA, as riders, advocates, and others say they're starting to see real progress for the once beleaguered system. And I would agree. I'm starting to see some progress. Again, slow zones are gone. A lot of the signal systems are being upgraded as well. The last couple of years for the MBTA have been mostly positive, with Philip Eng in there as MBTA general manager. I think things have been mostly positive. I mean, there's been some hiccups here and there. I've made some of my opinions clear on some things that I disagree with, like the fare gates and things like that, or I have a problem somewhat with them. But that is happening. That has already been put into effect as of Tuesday. That was put into effect. The fare gates, by the way. But there was some various lines being shut down for critical track work. A lot of track work done this year and last year as well. Something the T said was necessary to keep the system in good repair. I think they've done a good job this year at working on those repairs. Yes, some of the shutdowns were disruptive. Green Line just had one in December, which was 2 weeks. And that was, again, I'm sure pretty disruptive to people who were trying to get around on the Green Line. It's also a year that the MBTA started enforcing fare collection. Yes, that is something that they've done. And it seems like they've done a pretty good job at that. I will give them that for sure. They've done a pretty good job at enforcing the fare collection as of late. There's been an increase in that, which again, that's a positive thing for the MBTA. In May, there was a NBC 10 investigation that uncovered rampant fare evasion on the Green Line. It's something riders told us was made easier when the contactless payment system was implemented. Months later, in September, the T announced it would begin penalizing those who don't pay. Riders would get everything from a warning to fines up to $150 if caught skipping out on a fare. And 2025 was also full speed ahead for 2 lines. The Red Line reached 50 miles per hour for the first time in decades, which when that happened, now I remember that was a pretty big story. Months later, the Orange Line reached its intended limit of 55 miles per hour after all the slow zones were lifted last year. The T also vowed to fix aging infrastructure. Earlier this year, another ceiling tile fell at Harvard Station. I remember talking about that as well. Months later, there was a similar issue caught on camera at Park Street. In October, federal investigators released their final report on a Green Line train that had derailed as it was headed from Cambridge to Somerville. 7 were injured. One of the recommendations included implementing a safety system, which is something the MBTA is in the process of doing. The T also began $35 million of an upgrade of Foxborough Station, which is going to be for the thousands of fans that are expected to attend the World Cup. At Gillette Stadium, there's going to be several matches during the World Cup in 2026 at Gillette Stadium in June. That's when it's going to be going on as well. They're working on those improvements now as well. And a commuter rail service was added, of course, South Coast Rail. So that was pretty big as well. It had its hiccups there at the beginning, as I have talked about and Don has talked about as well. It had its hiccups in the beginning. Our first ride of it was definitely interesting. It was raining that day, and there were some delays. Probably partially because of the weather and partially because of some other things as well that I can't remember what it was. But that was an interesting time. Our first ride there on South Coast Rail. We talked about that too when we did that back several months ago. Ridership is up for the T as well, and the T's extended service included late nights, which is a positive thing as well for people who are trying to get trains out of certain events like a sporting event or a concert venue as well. Again, that's a positive thing as well. And I've talked about General Manager Philip Ang as well. Again, he's done a very good job as MBTA General Manager since taking over as well. So we'll see what happens for the MBTA in 2026. We already talked about some things that are going on for January for the MBTA. There's some more construction going on tracks. And signal improvements as well going on in January for certain lines, which we'll probably give an update on. Probably not today, but we'll give an update on that maybe Monday as to when those are going to be and what you can expect with that going forward, going into the city or going into any of the areas there surrounding the city on those lines. So we'll talk about that maybe on Monday. But there's your little bit of an update there on what the MBTA year in review looked like. In the next hour, we'll do the same thing with Amtrak. We'll talk about Amtrak. And their year in review was a really big year for Amtrak as well. A positive year when it comes to Amtrak in certain spots. We'll talk about that too. But if you have any thoughts on this on the MBTA, 508-822-1106. 508-822-1106. It is 9:48 a.m. We're going to take our next commercial break, and we'll be right back. $2.42. 242. Enter.
Matthew Mission Food Pantry helps people with food insecurities from the hardships of life. In a few short years, they have given more than 4,000 bags of groceries to those in need at the north door of the First Parish Church, 76 Church Green, and are available to anyone, no questions asked. The demand increases every week. Please consider a donation of unexpired, non-perishable food items, grocery store gift cards, or a monetary donation via check to the Matthew Mission Food Pantry, 76 Church Green, Taunton, or by Venmo at Matthew Mission Food Pantry. The Matthew Mission Inc. is a registered 501c3 organization. Thank you.
Oops. Keep forgetting to not cut that off. Okay. And we're back. I turned down the bumper music. There we go. All right. This segment we're going to do a 2025 kind of year in review here. Some of the things that happened in 2025. First off, this is something I'll mention for 2026 as well. First thing I'll mention for 2026 as well is this. For 2025, this is what happened on January the 1st. Poland takes over the presidency of the Council of the European Union after the Hungarian presidency. So each country gets 1 year. Each country that's in the European Union there, they got 1 year when it comes to their presidency. Poland was last year. There was a new country in there now. We'll talk about that here in this next hour when we talk about looking ahead to 2026. On January the 7th, Greater Los Angeles experiences the most destructive wildfires in history, fueled by strong winds and prolonged drought conditions. Over 13,000 structures are destroyed, including most of Sunset Boulevard. 29 deaths are reported. 180,000 people are evacuated. The fires continuing for days afterwards. So we have that as well. That was a very big story there at the beginning of the year. Another big story in January, the president of South Korea, Yoon Suk-yeol, is successfully arrested after a second attempt by police following a martial law declaration and successful impeachment motion the previous December. Also, you had a ton of general elections happen in 2025 as well. You had elections past November in the United States, where there was a couple elections, but they were big ones. A lot of people had eyes on those as well. That was in November. The Gaza war continued as well, with a ceasefire going into effect in January, but only lasting until an Israeli surprise attack on the 18th of March. So that happened as well. And the Russia-Ukraine war also continued throughout the year as well. Another big story in January was the Potomac Potomac River mid-air collision. A United States Army Black Hawk helicopter with 3 occupants on board collides with a Bombardier CRJ-700 operated by PSA Airlines with 64 occupants on board in D.C. There were no survivors. So that happened in January. And as we go through here, give us a call, 508-822-1106, 508-822-1106. In February, the 18th of February, Vladimir Putin announces that Russia and the United States have officially agreed to restore diplomatic relations. A 4-hour summit between the U.S. and Russia, that's held at that time in Saudi Arabia. An interesting thing here, in Egypt on the same day, they announced the discovery of Tutankhamun II's tomb by a joint British-Egyptian team, the first world tomb to be discovered since Tutankhamun's in 1922. It is the 15th and final pharaoh tomb from the 18th dynasty of Egypt to have been found by archaeologists. That was a huge story there in that area at the time as well. In March, you had another thing happen. Some other things happen as well. The Special Olympics, 2025 Special Olympics World Winter Games, those are held in Turin, Italy, from March 8th to March the 17th as well. So you had that happen going in March. You had a lot of sports happening in 2025. A lot of interesting sporting things happening in 2025. Like, the Super Bowl, the Chiefs, and that seems like ages ago, seeing as what happened this season with the Chiefs. But there you go. April 13th to October 13th, the Expo of 2025 is held in Osaka, Japan. So that happens in April. Also, the passing and the funeral of Pope Francis is attended. The funeral of Pope Francis, that's attended by delegations from 164 countries, including 82 leaders, 250,000 members of the public. As well, that leads to the May 7th, May 8th, 2025 conclave. 133 cardinal electors elect Robert Francis Prevost as Pope Francis' successor on the 4th ballot. So it took them 4 ballots. He takes the name Leo the 14th. It becomes the first Pope of North America, which was a huge story here in North America. He was from Chicago. First with Peruvian or U.S. citizenship, and the first from the Order of St. Augustine. Also in 2025, the India-Pakistan conflict also flared up as well a couple of times during 2025. In May, you had the IIHF World Championships. That's held in Stockholm, Sweden, and Herning, Denmark, and is won by the U.S., the United States. There. May 13th to the 17th, you had Eurovision Song Contest. That was held in Basel, Switzerland. Austrian contestant JJ wins with the song Wasted Love. That happens in May. That happens every May. This talk about this year's Eurovision as well already. As certain things here are going on. In a follow-up to South Korea there. Presidential election takes place on June 3rd after being pushed forward as a result of the impeachment of Yoon Suk Yeol. Lee Jae-myung wins the election, beating Kim Moon-soo. So that was a big election people were looking at because of what was going on there in South Korea. In June, you had the Los Angeles protests as well. FIFA Club World Cup that took place in the United States. That's won by Chelsea in June. As well, you had the G7 Summit in June in Canada as well. Then you had a NATO Summit in June as well in The Hague in the Netherlands. And that is pretty much what we had in there in the first half of the year. We're going to continue with the second half of 2025 after the 10 o'clock news, and then kind of look forward into 2026, tell you what's going on, some of the big events happening in 2026 as well. We'll get into the Amtrak. We'll talk about Amtrak as well. We'll talk about some more sports as well in the second hour as well, college football playoff, and my thoughts on that. And your phone calls, 508-822-1106 is the number. It is 10 o'clock, and we'll be right back.
We are AM 1530, WVBF, Middleborough, Taunton, and W259DD, Middleborough Center, 99.7 FM, your hometown radio station.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Barring a sudden turnaround, and that's always possible with Wall Street, it looks like the stock market will be starting the year with gains. Futures are positive so far this morning.
After taking off the New Year's holiday, U.S. financial markets are open for business in the new year. In 2025, the three major U.S. stock indexes posted double-digit annual gains. For the year, the S&P 500 rose more than 16%. The Nasdaq was up by 20%, and the Dow climbed nearly 13%. It was a roller coaster ride, however, with Wall Street bouncing back from April's low after President Trump's tariffs sparked a meltdown in global markets. Greg Clugston, Washington.
The raging fire that swept through a packed Swiss nightclub early New Year's Day claimed around 40 lives, left more than 100 people hurting.
Officials say that most of the injuries are severe. Witnesses spoke of seeing survivors with terrible burns, having been trapped in the basement party space of the Constellation Bar. That's where the blaze is suspected to have begun. Some suffered smoke inhalation wounds from the terrible choking fumes.
The BBC's John Leister. The Trump Kennedy Center is no longer in the red. Rick Grenell, the center's president and executive director.
When I arrived at the Kennedy Center, we were paying staff with debt reserves. We had no money in the bank. Shows were so woke that people weren't responding. And so now that you have new management and we're cleaning up the place and we're getting more corporate donors and other donors than we've ever had.
He tells the Salem Radio Network the cultural mecca in Washington, D.C. has raised $130 million in a span of just 10 months. On Wall Street, Dow futures up 146 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
What if 2026 could be the best year ever for your retirement? It can, when you take control of your financial future with physical precious metals. Call Advantage Gold at 800-741-GOLD right now and get your free gold rollover kit valued at $49. Yours just for calling. More Americans than ever are discovering the power of rolling over a portion of their IRA or 401k into physical gold and silver. With a simple, tax and penalty-free rollover, you can add stability, security, and strength to your retirement. In times of inflation, uncertainty, or market swings, gold has been a steady, tangible, proven store of value. And in 2026, it could be the key to building the retirement you've always imagined. That's why so many people trust Advantage Gold, the #1 rated gold IRA company in America for 10 years running. Call 800-741-GOLD to get your free gold rollover kit. Call 800-741-GOLD and let 2026 be the year you finally take control. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-741-GOLD.
A senior Iranian leader acknowledges his country's in crisis amid protests, and he blames Israel and the U.S.
Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian's speech took place in the central city of Shahrakot. Pezeshkian says, "We're engaged in a full-scale war. Right now, the enemy has placed most of its hopes on weakening us through economic pressure." Adding, "You cannot conquer a nation with bombs, fighter jets, or missiles. To defeat us, they would have to come and face us on the ground. And if they were to do this, it would be impossible for them to bring Iran to its knees." His comments come 2 days after President Donald Trump suggested the US could carry out military strikes if Iran attempts to reconstitute its nuclear program. Iran on Wednesday also appointed a new central bank governor following a record currency fall against the US dollar, which had sparked large protests through the country. I'm Charles Ledesma.
News and analysis, townhall.com. In college football, Indiana adds to its sports legacy with a Rose Bowl win.
The school, better known for its basketball, has now emerged as a force in Big Ten football, traditionally dominated by rivals like Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. The team was eliminated last year in the first round of the college football playoffs after a turnaround season. Yesterday, they notched a rout of the Crimson Tide, defeating Alabama with a convincing 38-3 victory, moving a step closer toward a national championship bid. They'll play Oregon in one of next week's semifinal games. And the other two Cinderella stories, Miami upset the defending national champion Ohio State Buckeyes to earn their berth. And last night, Ole Miss upset Georgia instead of a matchup against the Hurricanes. George Williams reporting.
Farmers are now learning how much aid they can expect to receive from a $12 billion package that President Trump recently announced. The Agriculture Department is out with the figures on how much aid per acre farmers can plan on receiving. More on these stories at townhall.com.
305.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host and do
I
not
will
express the
do
views of
InfoTrack,
WVDF ownership
promo,
or Hometown Talk Radio.
and the other ones.
Content aired on all programs are those of the host and their guests.
It's time for Hometown
It is
Talk
time.
on AM 1530 and 99.7 FM, your hometown radio station. Our phone lines are now open at 508-822-1106.
And we're back. So I turned down the bumper music. There we go. It is 10:06 a.m. here. Continuing on our 2025 year review here. And open blinds, by the way, as well. 08822-1106 if you want to call in, talk about what is on your mind this morning. August 8th, 2025, Armenia and Azerbaijan signed a peace deal to end 37 years of hostilities regarding the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. On September the 10th was the assassination of Charlie Kirk. He's assassinated at a campus event in Utah. In October, if I can get this up here. Actually, it might be October 28th. There we go. In October 28th, Hurricane Melissa, that makes landfall in Jamaica. It is one of the strongest hurricanes on record, 185 miles per hour. They are hitting Jamaica. It is the strongest hurricane that has ever hit Jamaica there. In November, late November, when it comes to sports, again, a lot of sports going on in 2025. And November saw the 2025 FIFA Futsal Women's World Cup that was held in the Philippines. That was won by Brazil. The G20 Johannesburg Summit was also held in November. That was held in South Africa. The first time the G20 Summit has been held in South Africa, or in Africa, period, as well. Going into December, at the end of December, you had the start of the Iranian protests, which are now continuing, are ongoing as of now, as we start into 2026. So that is your kind of year in review there in 2025. Thoughts on that? 508-822-1106. 508-822-1106 is the number. Now switching gears a little bit to a couple of different things here. A couple of different events going on. Want to mention our blood drives, as I always try to mention at least one time during a show that I do, whether it be on a Friday or a Sunday or a Monday. I always try to, when I have blood drives, mention those, and we have a couple here for this upcoming week. We have Tuesday, January the 6th at Rosebrook Event Center, 50 Rosebrook Place, number 1, Wareham, Massachusetts, 1 p.m. to 5:45 p.m. for that blood drive. And then we have Thursday, the 8th of January, at Habitat for Humanity of Greater Plymouth. That is located at 160 North Main Street, and that is in Carver, 11:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. for that blood drive. So we have a couple of blood drives coming up this week. So I always want to mention and talk about those whenever we have them, because I think blood drives are extremely, extremely important there. All right, switching over again. As we mentioned here, we're going to sprinkle some sports in there throughout the show. And now we're going to be moving into, I talked about in the last hour, I talked about the news that came out on Wednesday about the New England Revolution moving moving to the Everett area. Talked a little bit about that and what's going to be happening there and how that affects New England Revolution fans. It affects them quite a lot. Quite a lot. That is a big move for the New England Revolution. Moving on from that, though, I mentioned the Providence Bruins. Their first game of the year will be tonight. That's a 6 o'clock start. They take on the Hartford Wolfpack, who are kind of, I believe, down in the rankings, a little bit down in the standings a little bit. So this is a game that the Providence Bruins have got to get. They got to win this one because, again, Hartford Wolfpack, they're not that good. They're not that good. So this is a 6 o'clock start. And if we take a look at the AHL standings right now, as we are going into January, the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins are 22-8 right now with 47 points. They have a 4-point lead over Providence. And as I mentioned, Springfield is down there in the standings. They're not too good, I would say. Hartford is not that good. They're 10-14 right now. Not the worst in the league. I would say that is surprisingly teams like Abbotsford and who won the Calder Cup last year, by the way. Abbotsford is one of the worst teams in the league now. And Utica, the Comets there, are also not great this season. But you got the Providence Bruins there in second place in the Atlantic They're kind of keeping pace with Wilkes-Barre, so we'll see what happens there as well. And just an update on Grand Rapids. I've been talking about Grand Rapids. Every time I mention the AHL, I talk about Grand Rapids. Just a quick update on them. They have 54 points. They are 26-1-1. That's pretty good. They're 26-1-1-1, actually. That's their actual record. That's pretty good. The Grand Rapids Griffins are a very powerful team. I'll say that. Very, very good. Very, very good. So there's your update there on the AHL and Providence Bruins. I mentioned as well, another big thing I've been mentioning all morning during the Morning Wake Up News, during our sports segments, is the fact that the NFL has a big weekend ahead. It is the final weekend of the regular season. We have two big games tomorrow in the afternoon and the evening. First off, you got the Panthers and the Buccaneers. They play in the AFC. They play in the NFC South. It's a horrible division. That is a horrible division. These two teams are terrible. These two teams do not deserve to be in the playoffs. But that's our playoff. That's our playoff structure. One of these teams has to make it. One of these teams have to win the division. And it could be Tampa. You could see a team that's 8-9 make the playoffs. They'll get eliminated pretty quick, though. They'll get eliminated pretty quick. Again, I'm not too interested in this game. The bigger game is going to be Seattle versus San Fran at 8 o'clock tomorrow night on ABC and ESPN. That's for the NFC number 1 seed. That is going to be a major matchup. These two teams are going to be trading scores, and it's going to be a fun game. It's going to be a really fun game. Both of these teams are really good, so we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Sunday was also pretty big and pretty important, especially for Patriots fans. Yeah, I know. This past week hasn't really been great for New England Patriots fans and New England Patriots as a whole, with the Stephon Diggs and Christian Barmore situations they are going on, and potentially will be a big deal heading into the playoffs. Those two situations heading into the later portions of the playoffs. We'll have to keep a close eye on that. But the Patriots on Sunday have a pretty big game, and that is against the Miami Dolphins. And that will be at 4:25 p.m. on Fox. They're at home. They're at Foxborough. They're at home. It'll be a big game because they'll look to get a win there. And also, they'll be hoping that the Chargers are going to be good enough to beat Denver. And it's not looking that likely, unfortunately, for Patriots fans. Justin Herbert will sit. He will not play. I guess the Chargers are thinking that they do not want to risk any injury to Herbert as they go into the playoffs. I don't know what the Broncos will do. I don't know if they'll sit Bo Nix or not. But it'll be an interesting game, nonetheless. Hopefully it goes well for the Patriots, and the Chargers do beat the Broncos, but I'm not holding my breath. The Broncos are at home as well. I think the Patriots will probably have to settle for the number 2 seed. I think they'll have to settle for the number 2 seed. And I hate to say that, but the Broncos are good. The Broncos are very, very good. And it's the Chargers without Herbert. So I don't foresee the Chargers winning. I mean, if they somehow win, that is huge for the Patriots. Huge. I just don't see it. The NHL Winter Classic is tonight. 8 p.m. start. TNT, HBO Max, True TV. Rangers, Panthers at Lone Depot Park, which is the Miami Marlins. Ballpark there. So that'll be an interesting game. On Saturday, the Bruins will have a game Saturday night, late Saturday night, 10 o'clock our time, 7 o'clock West time. And that is going to be against the Vancouver Canucks. They are traveling to Rogers Arena in Vancouver, British Columbia. So that will be a big game as well. Finally, one more thing I'll mention here is talked about the Maine Celtics quite a bit in our sports segments there during the Monday Wake Up News. They're really early on in their season, so this is a big game tonight, but it doesn't really mean a whole lot as of right now. These games early on. One other thing I want to mention here, and then we'll take our break, and then we'll get to some college football on the other side of the break here. The Yukon Huskies on the men and the women's side are dominant this year, very dominant. The men's side 13-1 right now. They're taking on Marquette. That will be on Sunday. That's at 2 o'clock on NBC. That'll be a big game for UConn because they're probably going to win by 40 points. Marquette is not good. 5-9 right now. Winless in the Big East, so that should be a win for UConn. I'll be very surprised if it's not. The tougher game will be on the women's side. They're taking on Seton Hall. There we go. Seton Hall Pirates. They're 10-4. They're 4-1 in the Big East. That's tomorrow. Let's take a phone call and say good morning, caller.
Hello there, Joey. How are you?
How are you?
Oh, I'm pretty well, pal. A little bit down in the dumps today. That Pro Bowl in Boston. They're real cowboys and everything. I'm a different cowboy than they are. I don't believe in torturing animals by putting something around a cow's genitals. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They put that elastic around the cow's thing. The bull thing, and that's why he jumps so much.
Yeah, I mean, bull riding for me doesn't interest me. It doesn't interest me as a sport. I don't watch it. I really don't. It just doesn't interest me. I watched it a couple times here and there, but again, doesn't really interest me.
Yeah. And the last time they had a show like this was in 1942, and they had a real classy man in there, and his name was Roy Rogers, and he walked up the back of the garden with Gappy Hayes and his hot rigger, and Dale was with him, and Pat Brady, and the Sons of the Pioneers. Why can't they really do nice rodeo? This is, and another thing, they don't put a cowboy hat on when they ride the bull. They don't put a cowboy hat on. They put a thing to protect your head. You know what I mean? It's like Brazilian style rodeo.
Well, some of them do. Some of them do put the cowboy hats on. That's when it becomes interesting. But again, I don't watch it that often, so I don't know what happens in the majority of these.
Joey, I want to tell you something.
Yeah.
I went the night before New Year's. I went to Hong Kong restaurant, right? The
Yes.
Rover Ballroom.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, it was delicious. Oh, that food, unbelievable.
Yes, we're here at Hong Kong City
No
broadcasting.
salt, every bit was no salt, Joe.
Yeah.
I loved every bit of it. Oh, I'm telling those people there, I wanted to give them a big howdy do today.
I'm gonna be going this weekend, so.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Yes, it is.
Oh, I go back there again. I'd meet you down there somehow if I could to have another show of that, and I'd pay for it for you. But I'll tell you, that was good stuff. That was really good. And another thing is the Peacock Network is taking all the and put it over to Netflix. That's the mean thing to do.
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll see what happens with Peacock. I think they're gonna negotiate a new deal with Peacock, and what they're gonna do is it's gonna be for NXT. They'll keep NXT on Peacock for the time being. SmackDown will probably go over to when the current TV deal expires. For them, they'll probably go over to Netflix. That's what I'm assuming. I don't know. I don't know that. I think it seems like Netflix is a priority for WWE. And the moves that they did yesterday, it seems like that's the priority. They're really putting all their eggs in the basket when it comes to Netflix. Especially this Monday. This Monday is supposed to be a really big Raw, and it's supposed to be potentially, this is not confirmed, the return of Chris Jericho. So it's gonna be a big, big Monday Night Raw, and it's gonna be a big year for WWE going forward.
I'll tell you something. Tonight's the big time. We got wrestling tonight at the VFW in Rockton. New Year's Bash. You're going to see Brian Coates and Grossman, and you're going to see Cesar Leo maybe, and a lot of this Shining Thomas. And believe me, Channing Thomas is harder than any one of those WWE guys.
Well, that'll be interesting.
You get in the ring with an independent wrestling boy, and then tickets are $25 and starts at 7 or 7:30, and I can't wait to see it. Can't wait to get back up there and see it and film it.
I agree.
I love those guys.
I agree.
And the girls too.
So support your independent wrestling promotions for sure. That is a big deal.
Yeah, it's not. That Peacock's not as clear. When it goes on Netflix, it's not going to be as clear as it. They're starting to put it on YouTube now. They're starting to cut the stuff up and put it on YouTube.
Yeah, they're gonna put a lot of that stuff on YouTube anyway. I mean, I don't know. But anyway, thank you, Democratic Cowboy, for calling in today.
Oh, you're entirely welcome.
Thank
entirely welcome.
Have a good weekend.
Okay, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Bye bye.
You too.
All right, that's Democratic Cowboy giving us a call. WWE has been making a lot of moves when it comes to some of their broadcasting and some of their older material. They're putting them a lot on Netflix. I think they're putting a lot of their eggs into the basket there in Netflix, and I think that's just going to continue over the next couple of years. I think when the TV contract, as I just mentioned, the TV contract for SmackDown expires, which is going to be a few years, I think. Netflix is probably going to be knocking on the door there of WWE saying, we're interested in having SmackDown on Netflix. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Or maybe Peacock continues to have SmackDown. But a lot of that material is now being moved off of Peacock. And we'll see if they negotiate a new deal with Peacock or not. I'm assuming they will. And I think it's going to be for NXT. But we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, real quick here before we take our commercial break, I want to finish what I was talking about with the UConn Huskies. The women's side of the UConn Huskies, tomorrow, noontime on FS1, they're taking on Seton Hall. They're 10-4 Seton Hall, 4-1 in the Big East. But UConn women's basketball has been a force to be reckoned with for years, and that just continues. What Gino Auriemma has done at UConn is spectacular. What he's done at UConn is just spectacular. I don't think Seton Hall is going to win this game. I really don't. I think UConn has a very strong chance of going undefeated this season. Very strong chance. There's only been one game this year that they have won by less than 10 points. One game. That's unreal. That's unreal. UConn, they're very, very good. They're very, very good. Well, we'll see what happens there. Let's take our commercial break, and then we will take our news break. And when we come back, we'll look ahead to 2026, and we'll give an update on what happened with Amtrak in 2025. Mentioned that I was going to do elections, talk about the elections for 2026. However, I don't think we're going to have time to do it today, so I will probably do that maybe on Monday's show. So stay tuned for that on Monday's Middleborough Matters. I'll probably do that at that time, and we can talk about the Middleborough April elections as well on Monday. But we're not going to have time, I don't think, to talk about the elections of 2026 today. So, open phone lines, 508-822-1106, 508-822-1106 is the number to call if you want to call in and talk about whatever is on your mind this morning. And we're going to take our break, and we will take our news break, and we'll be right back. You're on WVBF 1530 AM, 99.7 FM. Okay, I need to do 136.
Don't miss InfoTrack weekends here on WVBF.
Okay.
InfoTrack is a weekly nationally syndicated public affairs radio show.
JD.
Features interviews with experts
1,
discussing topics of real
2,
interest to you.
25, 26, not 25.
Impartial, balanced coverage of every story. I'm your
I knew I was going to do that at least once.
with a team of talented reporters and legendary announcer Charlie Van Dyke.
Charlie Van Dyke.
Saturday mornings at 8:05 a.m. and
Nice.
Sundays at 9 a.m.
1,
Here
2,
on WVBF
26.
1530 and 99.7 FM, your hometown radio station.
425.
Hi, this is Paul Lazarovich, host of Saturday Morning's Cranberry
And then
Journal.
doing
Inviting
189.
you to join me
After the
live
news,
10 a.m. on WVBF
we're going to do
1530 AM
South Coast Health.
99.7 FM via the internet or our
And we might do
Facebook
Devour
page.
now.
Since
No,
1993, Cranberry
we'll
Country Journal has been
save that
providing
for
a side life of the
We'll do another commercial break
activities that
at
make
maybe
Cranberry Country area
10:50.
a special place to call home. Catch Cranberry Country Journal
Pretty
Saturday
good show.
mornings, 10 to
Pretty
11
good show
a.m.
here.
on WVBF
Half hour to go.
1530 AM and 99.7 FM.
Okay.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall.
089.
Alex Thomason. Turmoil in Iran, where violent demonstrations have sprung up as the Islamic Republic's economy crumbles.
Protests over Iran's struggling economy have sprouted into rural areas, with at least 3 people
Has it?
killed and multiple
That stinks.
arrested. The protests began due to economic pressures, with Iran's currency rapidly depreciating, with $1 US now costing roughly 1.4 million riyals.
Correspondent Lisa Dwyer says President Trump threatens U.S. intervention on Truth Social. He writes that if Iran violently kills peaceful protesters, the United States will come to their rescue. At least 7 people have died so far in protest-related violence. Swiss investigators believe sparkling flares atop champagne bottles ignited the deadly fire early yesterday at a popular night spot in the Alps. The death toll in the fire stands at around 40, with more than 100 injured. The BBC's Sarah Rainsford is in Crans-Montana, where last night a vigil was held.
A shrine that has sprung up here, where people have been bringing flowers and writing notes in memory of the victims of the fire. There's little candles flickering on the lay-by. Then it is a very somber place. It's very quiet here, but all day long it has been a town, very, very somber, a town which is a resort place. So, it's a place where people come for ski holidays. It's a place where they come to celebrate the new year.
Southern and central Mexico rattled by an earthquake, preliminary magnitude 6.5. Tesla has lost its crown as the world's top-selling electric vehicle maker, delivering 1.64 million vehicles last year, while Chinese rival BYD sold 2.26 million vehicles. On Wall Street, the Dow down 3 points, NASDAQ up 285. More on these stories at townhall.com.
It's Mike Gallagher wishing you a happy new year. If you're like most people, this is the week you look at your budget and think, all right, time to get things under control. Here's one of the smartest ways to start 2026. Call my friends at Fellowship Home Loans. They can help lower your monthly mortgage payment. And yes, you can still skip your next 2 payments. Imagine not making a mortgage payment in January or February. That's how you create real financial breathing room. If you need some cash to pay off high interest credit cards from the holidays, a cash out refinance might just be perfect for you. And if you prefer a line of credit, Fellowship's new fixed rate HELOC gives you funds fast with a rate that never changes. Start the year on solid footing. I've used Fellowship personally. I trust these guys. Before the January bills hit, fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453, fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
The teen daughter of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has made her first known visit to a family mausoleum where the embalmed bodies of her late grandfather and great-grandfather are on display. The visit occurred on New Year's Day. It adds weight to widespread speculation that she's being groomed as her father's successor. One analyst speculates that she will likely be named a high-level official at the upcoming ruling Workers' Party Congress. Images carried by state media today show the girl standing in front of the row with her parents and deeply bowing at the memorial in Pyongyang. Under increasing pressure from the Trump administration, Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro says his government is open to reaching an agreement with the U.S. to combat drug trafficking. The U.S. military continues blowing up suspected drug smuggling boats in international waters off Venezuela. Sanctioned oil tankers have also been subject to seizure by the U.S. Townhall.com. College football's signature event could undergo another overhaul amid travel concerns and other issues.
Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark says everything is on the table when it comes to rebooting the college football playoff, including potentially moving another round of games onto campus. The Oregon-Texas Tech game on New Year's Day kicked off in front of thousands of empty seats at Hard Rock Stadium. The Ducks traveled 3,200 miles to get to Miami. The commissioners have until January 23rd to figure out what next year's playoff will look like. Expansion and automatic bids have been the 2 biggest headlines in that discussion. I'm Geffen Coolbaugh.
There have been some very dramatic high water rescues in San Diego as floodwaters rage. More than 2 inches of rain fell as the new year dawned, turning roads into rivers and trapping motorists in their vehicles. More on these stories, townhall.com.
At some health systems, cancer care can make you feel like a number. At South Coast Health Cancer Care, you're more than a diagnosis. We offer the most advanced treatments and the latest surgical advancements, led by a connected team of experts who not only see your cancer, but all of you. Because healing isn't just medicine, it's compassion, it's connection, it's care that knows your story and walks along with you. We are South Coast Health Cancer Care. Visit southcoast.org/cancercare.
Okay. All right. 10. Yeah, I'll do that at 11. 10:55, I mean, probably. All right. Perfect. Okay, good. Oh, good. Perfect. That's it? Good. Okay. And good morning. As I turn down the bumper music, there we go. 10:37 a.m. About 23 minutes left in the program today. If you want to call in, 508-822-1106. 508-822-1106 is the number to call. If you want to call in and talk about whatever is on your mind this morning, as we are here in the first Friday of 2026. Moving on to talk a little bit about Amtrak. 2025 was a year of records for Amtrak. A ridership of 34.5 million customer trips. That's a 5.1% increase. That's an all-time record as well. Very positive year for ridership. Underscoring the growing demand for Amtrak across the United States, the company closed fiscal year 2025 with record ridership and revenue, marking another year of growth and strong performance. These results were achieved alongside improvements in the customer experience, reinforcing Amtrak's commitment to quality service as the foundation for future growth. Amtrak provided 34.5 million customer trips, as I just mentioned, setting an all-time record for both ridership and also revenue. Amtrak increased network capacity by 4.3%, despite the challenges of an aging fleet. They are replacing some of the trains there, especially in the Northeast Corridor. And as to talk about some other lines as well, getting some new trains here over the next couple of years too. We'll see when that happens as well. But they are starting to very slowly replace a lot of the older trains that they've had in the past. They're doing it on the Northeast Corridor. They're going to be doing it on other lines too in the future. So they're definitely well on their way to doing that. So there you go. Preliminary results for the fiscal year are as follows. Ridership, again, we mentioned 34.5 million. That's a 5.1% increase over the last fiscal year. Adjusted ticket revenue, $2.7 billion. That's a first in Amtrak's history. That's 10.4% higher year over year. Total operating revenue of $3.9 billion, the 9.1% increase. The customer on-time performance, Northeast Regional reached their highest on-time performance in recent years. Again, Northeast Regional is a very good rail line. Northeast Regional, the Northeast Corridor is very, very good. Sometimes it has its problems. Some of the portions are slow, things like that. There's a lot of improvements that are being done to the Northeast Corridor. Certain projects are being done as well. As we go over the next couple of years, maybe we'll start to see some improvements there in the speed of the Northeast Corridor. But there's some slow areas there in the Northeast Corridor. It really reaches the top speed of the really top speed, and really just a couple of portions of the corridor. Customer service also surpasses system-wide goals as well. Historical bests in Wi-Fi, food and beverage. Food and beverage on Amtrak is pretty good. I would say that. I'll say that. The hot dogs, the hot dogs in general. I love that. Hebrew National hot dogs, very, very good. Amtrak hot dogs. They're very good. So that's no surprise that they're doing well in that area. Miles traveled in the fiscal year, 6.9 billion miles. It's a lot of miles. That's an all-time high. There's some new services and new trains, as I mentioned throughout the year. The launch of the Amtrak Mardi Gras service, the along the Gulf Coast, the next gen Acela, which we have been waiting for a long time, and finally, I think 5 of them are in service now as of late August. We were waiting for those for quite a while. The Borealis as well. That service has had a lot of success. 250,000 riders in the Midwest since their fiscal year 2024 debut. A lot of capital investments, $5.5 billion, 25% up year over year in major projects. As I mentioned, there's a lot of projects going on to improve the Northeast Corridor. There's other projects going on across the Amtrak lines too. So Amtrak doing very, very well for itself and hopefully that continues in 2026. There are some things that Amtrak can do for sure to improve, but they're doing very, very well for themselves. All right, switching back to sports, we're going to end the show today by looking ahead into 2026, some of the big events happening in 2026. We're going to do that, but let's talk about college football real quick. The college football quarterfinals are done. They're in the books. The semis are next week, and they're going to be big. They're definitely going to be big. There's some surprises in the semifinal we'll get to right now. First off, Miami. No one expected Miami to be anywhere near the semifinals. And here they are. They're in the semis. They had a great game against Ohio State. This team is starting to believe that they can win the national championship. I would say pump the brakes a little bit on that. As I mentioned earlier, pump the brakes a little bit. Indiana's still there. Indiana's still here. I wouldn't. I would be careful by saying Miami will win the national championship because Indiana's still there, and Indiana took care of business. And we'll get to that in a second. Indiana looks good. Looks really, really good. It looks very scary. Miami is not the favorite, in my opinion. It's Indiana. But Miami has done very, very good for itself so far in the college football playoff, knocking off Ohio State, which was last year's champion. Another team that I was surprised that got knocked off was Georgia. I was surprised Georgia lost. I mean, it went down to the wire, yes. And there was some interesting things to end the game. The game was like, there was 1 second left, and they tried to take that 1 second off the clock 3 different times. And it was a fun ending. It was a amusing ending to what was a pretty good game for sure. Ole Miss did a very good job stopping Georgia when it mattered, and they escaped with a 39-34 victory over Georgia. That's a huge loss there for Georgia. That's a huge thing there because a lot of people were talking about Georgia as well. But now they're out. Alabama's out. And boy, what a terrible game. This wasn't a game. This wasn't a game at all. This was all Indiana. Indiana kind of showed that, they belong here. They belong in the national championship conversation. They belong as number one in the nation. Alabama was just outplayed in every single area of the football. It was ugly game for Alabama. Not great. I feel bad for Alabama. They got here in the second round. They should be proud that they got to the second round for sure. But not a good way to go out. 38-3. Not good. Bad game there for Alabama. But they'll be back. I think they'll be back. We'll see what happens next year for Alabama. But I think they'll be back. But I was thinking like pretty early on that this game was over. And sure enough, 38-3. Ouch. Not good for Alabama. But again, they'll be back. They'll be back for sure. Alabama, they're always a team that will get into the sneak into the playoff or get into the playoff as well. I think what this playoff so far has shown was that the college football committee was correct in some of the options that they picked as to who got in. I think they were correct. They were 100% right. Especially with Miami. Especially with Miami now that they're in the semis. But again, Indiana looks really, really good. They look scary. I think, and Indiana is still a favorite. I think they're going to win the national championship, in my opinion. That's my pick, Indiana. Then you got Oregon taking down Texas Tech in a surprising 23-0 win. This is a little surprising. I thought this game was going to be close. I thought this game was going to go out of the wire. It did not. It was all Oregon. Texas Tech got nothing going. Absolutely nothing going. Texas Tech was terrible on offense. Not that good on defense. I mean, 23 points, that's not a whole lot to give up, but I mean, that's still a lot of points there. And to lose 23-0 is not fun at all in the college football playoff. So, disappointing result for Texas Tech there, but that's another team that will be back next year. Texas Tech. You haven't seen the last of Texas Tech either. All right, we get to the semis. We have the college football semifinal, the Fiesta Bowl, Miami versus Ole Miss. That is going to be Thursday, January 8th. At 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. I don't know. I don't know who wins this game. This is a closer game, I think, in my opinion. And same thing with the Indiana game. It's a little bit. I think it's going to be a little bit of a closer game. I don't think it's going to be 35-0. I don't think Indiana is going to beat Oregon 35-0 or anything like that. But Miami and Ole Miss. This is going to be a toss-up kind of game. I think, in my opinion. I think Miami has the upper hand right now, going off of what happened in the last two games for them. I think they have the upper hand against Ole Miss right now. But Ole Miss pulled out a great win last night. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I wouldn't mind either of these two teams winning and going on to the final. I think a Miami versus Indiana game would be great. I think a Ole Miss versus Indiana game would be great. Oregon's not winning against Indiana. No way. No way. What Indiana did against Alabama is a signal that they're definitely going to make the final. I really think they're going to make the final. Oregon, I think, will play better. At least I hope they will play better than Alabama. We'll see. Friday, January 9th, 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. That is the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. So I think they're going to be, in my opinion, it's either going to be Indiana versus Ole Miss or Indiana versus Miami. I think Oregon was going to lose against Indiana. Again, should be a closer game. At least that's what a lot of people are hoping it will be. But you never know. I think Indiana showed that they're not playing around. They're not messing around here. They've come to this expecting to win the national championship, and they played like it against Alabama. Alabama just couldn't get anything going on defense and looked completely lost out there against Indiana. Will that happen to Oregon? I don't know. We'll see. Oregon looks pretty good in their quarterfinal. So we'll have to see what happens there. All right, 10:51 a.m. Let's take our last commercial break. We'll be right back.
Hey, restaurant. When it comes to great food and in-house operations, you got it down to a science. But when it comes to online marketing, ordering, and delivery, Devour Now has got you covered. Devour Now has 0% commission, no setup costs, and the delivery solution you've been hoping for. Go to getdevournow.com to request a demo and to get started today. That's getdevournow.com. Commission-free online marketing, ordering, and delivery.
All right. All right, we're back. So I turned down the bumper music. There we go. 10:52 a.m. Here's up 8 minutes left in the program. If you want to call in, 508-822-1106. What are your thoughts on my my assessment of the national championship there for the college football playoff? Again, I'm picking Indiana to win. Picking Indiana to either face Miami or Ole Miss. We'll see what happens there. But what are your thoughts? 508-822-1106. We're going to end the show today by talking about 2026. We'll look forward to some of the big events here. One event I want to mention that has happened as of yesterday, and it's the beginning of the year, and I mentioned this at with the 2025 thing as well. The Council of the European Union every year has a different country that is takes the role as president of the council, and this year it is Cyprus. Cyprus began their president of the council role yesterday. So there you go. Coming up, predicted and scheduled events. The 2025 Jubilee that has been happening all of last year will come to an end on January the 6th. That is Tuesday. So that'll be interesting there. There'll be Portuguese presidential election. That's going to be scheduled to be held on the 18th of January. Again, we'll probably talk about that during our election segment on Monday. We'll talk about some select elections on Monday because we didn't get to it today. But we'll talk about that too. Another thing that is going to be a pretty big thing here in January is that the United States will officially leave the World Health Organization. In February, the New START Treaty is scheduled to expire as well. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. What happens with that in February? You got the 2026 World Baseball Classic that's scheduled to be held in Japan and in the United States. That's March 5th through the 17th. You have the Winter Paralympics. That's scheduled to be held in Milan and Cortina di Ampezzo, Italy. Again, the Olympics will also be held as well. And that, I think the Olympics are going to be held this year. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, I think so. I don't see it on here. All right. Anyway, there we go. I missed it. The Winter Olympics are scheduled to be held in Milan and Cortina di Ampezzo, Italy, as well in February. And then right after that is the Winter Paralympics in March at the same place. And then you have, again, every May, as I mentioned in 2025, every May, Eurovision Song Contest takes place. This year it's Vienna, Austria, following their win. The winner of the of every single Eurovision gets to host the next year. So Vienna, Austria will host in 2026. So there you go there. FIFA World Cup, as I mentioned earlier, takes place in June. That's June 11th through July 19th. In Canada, Mexico, and the United States. Boston will have some stuff as well. In July, you have the 2026 Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, Scotland. You have the July 4th, 2026, the 250th anniversary of the adoption of the United States Declaration of Independence. A lot of events happening around that this year. So that's going to be a big thing as well. Also, FIFA will also hold the U20 Women's World Cup. That's scheduled to be held in Poland in September 5th to the 27th. You got the Asian Games as well in 2026 in September. You have a Russian legislative election coming up in September 20th, if not triggered earlier. It'll be no later than September 20th. Also, that's the same thing for Latvia. They have a parliamentary election in 2026. It will be held no later than October the 3rd, if not triggered earlier. Brazil will have a general election as well. So that's a big one. Israel will have a legislative election. There'll be a lot of eyes on that on October 27th, if not triggered earlier, as well. You have the Youth Olympics coming up in October to November, October 31st to November 13th. That is in Senegal. November 3rd will be the midterm elections as well. So you have a lot of things going on here as we go through the 2026 year. So that'll pretty much do it for 2026. Look ahead to 2026. And that'll pretty much do it for the show today as well. I want to thank everyone for listening to today's program. If you want to go back and listen to the show in its entirety, it'll be on YouTube. It is Hometown Talk on YouTube. So search that up on YouTube if you want to go back and listen to this entire program in its entirety, and other programs I've done in the past for Hometown Talk. It is Hometown Talk on YouTube. I live stream those every Friday, of course, from 9 to 11 a.m. So I want to thank everyone for listening in, and Democratic Cowboy for calling in earlier as well. It is 11 o'clock, and have a great weekend, everybody, and go New England Patriots. All right.
We are AM 1530, WBBF, Middleborough, Taunton, and W259DD, Middleborough Center, 99.7 FM, your hometown radio station.
Turn this down. Okay. I hate when it does that. I switch it over and it does nothing. Give it a minute. Give it a minute to catch up. All right. Anyway, let's switch gears here. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening in. Take a sip of my iced coffee there. Thank you, everyone, for listening in, and I'll be back again next Friday for another edition of Hometown Talk. We will have a guest on the program. It will be Eric Dunn joining us for our monthly sports talk. I'm sure we'll get into maybe some college football, definitely NFL. A lot of things going on with the Patriots right now, and a lot of them not good. So we'll probably talk about that briefly. Well, probably mostly on the field Patriots stuff. I'd rather not get into the off the field stuff going on with the Patriots because it's been a bad week for the Patriots off the field. But we'll talk about all sorts of sports related stuff with Eric next Friday. Bye-bye, everybody.